Hi, this presentation is going to be about the Schema.org Blueprints Organization Starter Kit. It's all about organizing an organization, how to structure an organization's hierarchy, their members, their departments. But first, let me do an introduction. Who am I? My name is Jacob Rockowitz. I want to make your life easier by solving complex problems with simple, well thought out solutions. You can find me at jrockowitz on the web. And just to set the stage, this is my biographical information using schema.org JSON LD. And just to give you an overview of what is schema.org, it's a collaborative community activity with a mission to create, maintain, and promote schemas for structured data on the internet, on web pages, and email messages and beyond. It is a collaboration between Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, and Yandex to describe things in a way that search engines would understand. Now, a schema.org first approach is just leveraging schema.org as the foundation for building content models using structured data, which is API first, standardized, and universal. So you're using schema.org to define your data from the get-go, not after you've built your content model to then fit into the schema.org standard. And the schema.org blueprints module for Drupal takes a schema.org first approach to building content models and structured data in Drupal. So it's bringing schema.org into Drupal, and when we build out our entity types and fields, we're using schema.org. Now, there are some concepts behind this starter kit. The starter kit, the schema.org blueprint starter kit for organizations, provides a starting point for building out an organization's content model and information model using schema.org. Now, that just means that we're just generic organization. We're not trying to target a specific sector. We're trying to explain to every sector how you might take that healthcare, NGO, government, education institution, and use schema.org to describe it in Drupal. Now, with that, the organization starter kit includes the organization and local business schema.org types to distinguish between an organization being a conceptual entity, a bunch of people working together, and a local business, which is a subtype of organization, but that's a bunch of people working together with a physical entity, as a physical entity with a physical place. And you'll see that in the schema.org spec that place is part of a local business. Site builders should use subtyping to add additional specificity to organization and local business types. So once you, as you're modeling, you could say, I'm doing an organization, and this organization is a restaurant, or that would actually be a local business, but you start to get the point, and you'll see it as I go through. Now, with that, we're talking about types. To set up relationships, this organization starter kit leverages inverse of relationships for schema.org member, employee, suborganization, and department. Inverse of means there's member and member of property to say this person is a member of this organization, and when you go to that person, you can say this person is a member of that organization. Now, this starts to arrange the hierarchy, and then we can define individual roles within an organization using the schema.org role module. So when you set up that relationship, you can say this person is a member of this association and they are the president. Their role in that relationship is president. Now, there's some diagrams, and I decided to kind of install the module in the demo to help people feel comfortable with it. So if I go here, sorry for the bump, but we'll go over to the schema.org blueprints module. The starter kit module, the API module is enabled. And you're going to see that we have a starter kit here called organization. When I go to install it, I'm going to click confirm. It just shows us what types are being installed, and you'll see everything's kind of new field, but showing us that we're going to have a member of relationship, the same as. There's even an employee relationship. Where is that? Oh, it comes in as it's being created, and you start seeing those relationships kick in. See, works for employee. Oh, I missed it because it's not employee on a person, it's works for. The person works for an organization. Now, while we're here, I'm just going to fill this in with some dummy content. That's not really the point, but I'm just doing, this is the best way to start understanding a starter kit. Install it, set up some dummy content. But what I really want to show you is some diagrams. And that was also part of this. I'm sorry to bounce around. I'm going to go over to help, and you'll see all the submodules, but we're just going to go to the organization starter kit. And in there, we're just going to start seeing some diagrams. This is using Mermaid.js. It's illustrating the concept that a person would be a member of an organization with a role, or they would work for a local business. That is definitely a distinguishing thing between organization and local business. And this is just my opinion. Organizations have members, local businesses have employees. And when you get to an organization, you're going to have that person be a member, and then within that organization, you might have sub-organizations or parent organization, but you might also have local businesses. If you were building out McDonald's, McDonald's would be an organization, but each individual business would be a local business, each location of McDonald's. And then when you get into, it's interesting where local business, you can get into employees, but then you get into departments. And departments are just a sub entity within a local business. It could be a physical department. It could be a different location. It could have a different a logo, anything like that that distinguishes the organization to a smaller level. Okay, I'm going to keep going. And let's just talk about some of the features included in the starter kit. So it provides default inverse relationships for entity references between organization, local business, and person content type. It defines the entity reference target bundle. So it's really figuring out exactly that for an organization, you have member that targets person. When you're on person, member of targets organization, not local business. And the same thing goes with employee relationship for local business. And also creates an admin view for organizations so you can view all of them. And lastly, to kind of try to improve the UX, it's working with entity views attachments to help make it easy to manage and add sub-organizations, departments, and members to an organization and local business. So there's some requirements. I'm really just trying to illustrate that, these starter kits are built on different sub-modules and contrib modules. These are sub-modules that integrate contrib modules. So the automatic entity labels creates a person title from their first and last name. The corresponding entity reference does those inverse of relationships. The diagram module does those diagrams that you just saw, and you're going to see some more of them. The schema.org blueprints role module manages the roles, the starter kit API, and lastly subtyping, which is really just adding drop-downs to schema.org types as they're created to let you say, I want this to be a little more specific type. Now, in the starter kit, we're using these modules to build out the UI, install it, so config rewrite helps us update configuration as the starter kit is installed. The entity reference override is used to get the roles working. Entity pre-populate and the entity views attachment module and the views add button work together to create a UX where, and I'm going to just have to show it to you, but you're on an organization, you could see all the organizations that are sub-organizations and add a new sub-organization. And that's where you're basically saying you're seeing what's going on. When you hit add, it's passing information to the node edit form to say, pre-populate this entity reference with this value. I'll illustrate it a little better. And yeah, it's really time for a show and tell. Okay. So the first part is I did install the module and generate some content. So let's look at this. Let's go to an organization. And this is dummy content. So there are limitations when you use devel generate. But for example, this is an organization that's a bookstore. And now we see our general, sorry to scroll past, but you see these are our relationships as simple fields. This John McCartney has a role. Ringo McCartney, these are roles. And now we get our sub-organizations. If we scroll down, this is the UI to basically say I'd like to add a sub-organization to this organization or local business. Now, for now, I'm going to just show you the diagram to start showing you that there's relationships being built. So this is showing you that this organization, a bookstore, is a sub-organization of these four organizations. So there's multiple, it's not one-to-one relationships. You can actually have multiple parents. By the way, when you start seeing a lot of extra squiggly lines here, that's where multiple parents are kicking in. But you see it starts building an org chart. And this is a dynamically generated org chart, so it's not the best user experience, but it helps. Here it tells you, for example, Ringo McCartney has 2 roles in this organization. That's not common, but it is possible and supported. From here, I really want to kind of say, let's talk about Drupal and say we're going to build out Drupal as an organization. So we're going to say Drupal is an organization. This is Drupal, the entire ecosystem, Drupal.org. That's where our organization starts. I'm going to publish it. And let's say we wanted to add a member, and we'll use Dries as our example, as Dries Beatart. He's a member of this organization. Now, where the role is not going to be defined at this level, and you'll see that what happened is I passed in a member of. This is all set up when you install the module, and it passes that entity reference to the member of field and says this person's a member of Drupal. I'm going to hit save. Now we have Dries here. We came back to the organization page. If we need to clarify his role, I can go in here and say he's the BDFL. Okay, so we just said Drupal and we have a BDFL. Now we definitely have a Drupal association. That might be an NGO. This is where subtyping is. We're just saying, hey, let's add a little extra help here. I'm going to hit save. It is going to come back here. We're going to start seeing a diagram being built out. And Dries is part of this one. But now we can go to the Drupal association. This is where role starts to kick in nicely. In here, I can go in and edit his role. And I could say Dries is the president. I don't even know if that's right, but let's just use it, of the Drupal association. Now we're in the Drupal association. We could add another. We could add DrupalCon as a local business as an event. So we could say DrupalCon Pittsburgh. I'm not even going to finish it. For Pittsburgh, we'd have to look through. By the way, organization as a subtype as a type is perfectly fine. You see these get very specific to different businesses. I'm not seeing anything that stands out. By the way, what's good is you can go in later and add specificity here. And I could say DrupalCon Pittsburgh, and then down here I have the opportunity to say when it's happening, the hours, the location. I'm going to hit save. And now we start seeing a diagram starting to happen where we have our relationship to Dries. We could go back up to the Drupal association and we start seeing the tiers getting built out. I'm really happy with this demo, just to say, because it's this simple. It's just setting things up. Now, how would you use this starter kit in your organization? Well, one thing is, if you realize you need a dedicated NGO content type, you can create an NGO content type and then just use it's called the entity, I think it's the entity bundle convert, where you can convert the Drupal association from a generic organization to an NGO. And you can definitely start building this out. You can use it to architect, to plan out. You're going to want more content types, and the one rule that's not really documented in the slides is just like, you want dedicated content types if you want access controls, APIs, special look and feel. That's where you want to start building out additional content types or subtypes as dedicated content types. I'm going to keep going. So there's some key takeaways and conclusions here. Well, look, schema.org enables you to the construction of relationships using inverse of properties. Inverse of is really important. That is what's starting to build those organization charts out. Before delving into more specific types, it's important to comprehend the primary schema.org types. That's why this starter kit adds a lot of value, because it's just focusing on organization, a primary main type in schema.org. So when I go into types down here, if I click on types, you'll see if I look at everything and I expand this a little bit, these are primary types. And some of them are pretty matter of fact. Event, person, and place are very simple schema.org types. But when you get to organization, it really gets a lot more complex. There's a lot more subtyping and nuances below those within an organization. Medical entities falling into that, and creative work. But you need to understand these primaries before you start drilling down into more specific types. Even with creative work, there's a lot of properties on creative work you should understand, so that when you say, I want to build out a podcast or a blog post or an article, you understand what's being inherited. How is it working? Okay, I'm going to keep going. So schema.org's organization type can be used to organize an organization's hierarchy. That was the goal of the starter kit. I hope that's what you're seeing. I hope that's what you use the starter kit for. So thanks. You can find me at Jay Rockowitz on the web. The project's located on drupal.org/projects/schema.org_starter-kit_organization. You can also find this on the schema.org Blueprints main page within the ecosystem. I wish you well and have a good day.